So I don't know if everybody knows this story, but 41 years ago, David Edens, one of the best cutting horse farriers in the world, had a son. And like many sons, he grew up and learned the family business and wasn't that big a fan immediately. He went on to pay for his finance degree with his farrier skills that he learned from Dad. And as he went on to England for the cultural exchange program, he began to fall in love with competing. And now he makes some of the best tools in the industry. He's a highly sought after clinician, judge, world champion. He is 175 pounds of twisted steel and sex appeal, Austin Edens.
Okay, I wanted to talk today a little bit about forging for points. And the biggest question I always get asked is what differentiates a winning shoe versus a third place shoe or fourth place shoe or 20th place shoe. So I'm going to make some shoes here a little bit later, but I want you to ask questions, what concerns you have, and what attributes of the shoes do you think make a shoe better than another shoe. So I've judged a lot, and I've had a lot of people come up to me and say, well, these shoes were 10th place. Why weren't they winners? I thought they were better than this. And when you lay them all out, I'm going to kind of talk about some of the criteria that we go through as judges to see which ones are winners versus ones that are third, fourth place, 10th place, and down the line. So, does anybody have any ideas what number one attribute a shoe has to have to be the winner? Nail fit. Okay.
Nailability.
Nailability. Okay. And what is nailability?
Being safe to nail on the foot.
In general, okay?
Flat.
Flat.
Function and fit.
Function and fit. Those are two, Billy.
Oh, excuse me. Okay, now put fit on.
Fit what? It's just,
Fit.
there's no foot, so what is it going to fit?
Well, you made it for a foot.
Just a foot in general? A boxy foot, round foot? Specimen. Okay. Okay. That's all we have. Nail placement. So why do we have the certification program, and we have a fit criteria on the certification program, and everybody complains about what the criteria is. Well, we don't shoe horses like that every day. We back feet up, we fit feet longer, we do all that, and everybody has to have the same set of criteria in order to have a test, okay? And that's what we're doing in a contest. We're having a criteria for a certain shoe, and that shoe is the specimen shoe, okay? So when I'm judging a contest, no matter if I made the specimen or somebody else made the specimen, we got the World Championship coming up in September, and other people all over the world make specimens. But the closest shoe to that specimen will be the winner, regardless of if it's right or wrong, or if I think heel cock should be this big and then it looks like a saddle heel cock. We are going to try to make a carbon copy of that specimen. And the biggest mistake I see guys make is, well, I don't believe a toe should look like that, so I'm going to make a big round toe instead of a pointy toe like that. And that's not the criteria. It's just like certification. You trim a foot, and then the judge the examiner judges that foot, and then you have to fit that foot exactly. And that's the same thing with the specimen shoe. You know, we look at the specimen, that is our criteria, and we need to make that specimen exactly as it was made. Okay? Any questions on that so far? Disagreements? And I think, I don't know if he's here right now, but Ben Mangan, is he here? Well, he's a finest example. He always had his own interpretation of what things should look like. And he used to go to the contest, make beautiful shoes, and then, you know, he'd end up 4th or 5th place every time. And he just never could figure out why. He just always complained, I'm never doing good, blah, blah, blah. And then one day the light switch came on. He went to Gene Leeser's house and he said, you're not making a specimen, you're just making your own version of it. And then Ben started doing that ever since he went to Gene Leeser's house, and then nobody can beat him. So that's the main criteria on competing, is that's what the judge is looking for, and you need to make that specimen exactly like that. So that goes back to my next point, is intent. That's what we have to do when we're competing, is to make everything intentional, okay? And our number one intent is to make carbon copy. We want to make that exact same specimen, no matter what. You agree, Gene? So what's our next criteria? That a head of specimen? Yeah. So we go up to nailability, take the nail on, is our first criteria. If we can't nail it on, we're throwing it under the table. Another thing we have, does it have all the elements? Does it have the clips? Does it have the proper nail holes? Does it have the boxing? Is it the proper side? First thing I do when I'm jumping, I look for missing elements. I can chunk those under the table. It makes it easier for me. You know, so that's one easy way to eliminate a lot of use disqualification just right off the bat. I'm gonna have elements, specimen, function, fit. Or it's flat. Who said flat? Where does that go on the list?
It's not flat. Specimen is not nailed.
How important is flat to Eugene? Okay. Yeah. The way I look at it on flat's the easiest thing to fix. It's important, but with a hammer blow, I can usually fix flat. A bad nail hole, bad clip, a bad feature, I can't really fix that easy, but flat is the easiest thing to fix. But what do guys do when you hand them the most beautiful shoe you ever made? What's the first thing they do? They look at flat. And that's one thing that's always hurt to me is I'll make the best shoe I've ever made in my life, and then that's the first thing that people do, you know, and right or wrong, but it is the easiest thing to fix. And
That's what got my attention. That's the first thing every judge wants.
yeah, and that's what we do as Farriers every day. We take a shoe, first thing we do is we look and see if it's flat. But I think it's down here on the list of important features for a shoe to have. Because
Is it, they can make you from first place to fourth place?
you got a beautiful shoe, if it's not flat, it might be a little further down the table than one that is.
Yeah, I personally haven't killed shoes that bad. You know, if they're grossly out of flat, yeah, but if they're just a little sprung heel here or there, you know, I'm probably not gonna kill it for the flatness. You know, I'm probably gonna, and I'll tell you one thing that goes into this intent is pair, you know, pair class. That's, if to make two shoes that are mirror images of each other is one of the hardest things you're going to do. Okay, so Jim Keefe, when he judges a contest, he'll take the two pair, hit the heels on a table or on the handle or whatever, and he wants them to pair up exactly. And to me, that is just about the hardest test you can do, is make two shoes that are mirror images like that. So if it's a pairs class, that pair is going to go way up here for me. Because you almost always, you'll have a nice shoe and a crappy shoe. You know, or you'll have one that's racked a little bit. To me, also, shoes that are racked, it's one of my pet peeves, and I'm probably a little bit harsh about it, but it's preventable. It goes back to everything being intentional. Everything's laid out. You know, if you have one nail hole down here, one nail up here, it's unsightly. The shoe doesn't balance, and everything it doesn't look right. Is it the worst thing for the horse? No. I mean, we rack cake shoes every day. We rack, you know, it's not that big of a deal, but it goes back to that intent. Nice section. Everything fits that grid. It fits the specimen. It has all the elements, and all the elements are cleanly done. You're probably going to do well. Okay? And I got a hard time with Christmas grid when I judged Sheridan a few years ago, and his shoe was racked, and beautiful shoe, and it was a lateral support hind, and it was an easy shoe to get racked. And I killed all those shoes. But I had to have something to differentiate between winners and losers. And it's one of those shoes that it got short outside real quick, and you didn't have enough to go out and around. So everybody dropped their outside toenail to get more length on the outside, and it just made all the shoes look bad when you had the rack on. What do you think about racking, Gene? Where's that on your list? Yeah. 56. Yeah. The roadsters are easy to get racked. You know, they'll tell on you real quick. You know, you have a nice. All of a sudden, you're short. You're short on the outside. Everything's set up exactly the way you want it. What you end up having to do is drop this fullering, push all this material down to make the shoe balance up here. So that's one of the criteria, and that's why it's important to me, because you have to lay everything out in the beginning and offset the proper amount in order to get your shoe to lay out. Okay? And a lot of times doing pairs, you know, the left side's easier for some people, and the right side's easier for others, and you'll have one rack one and one that balances up. Okay? Any questions on that so far? I know you have a question. No? But everything makes sense? Anybody have any disagreements on where things should be important? Like flat, nailability? Okay, you guys are difficult.
Where do you place finish?
finish, okay? I personally put finish last. I always love looking for those shoes that are kind of a rough finish, but everything's there. You know, they're scaly and they're lumpy and bumpy, but they're balanced. All the nails fit. It's fuller nice. Those are the shoes I look for, you know. Because it's easy to be a crow and look for the shiniest shoes, you know, and pick those shoes out. But finish is getting more and more important as well. You know, everybody's got the same box and everybody's polishing and everybody's getting them flat. You know, the classic, everybody makes them look like a bowling ball anymore, you know, the feet. And that's one of the reasons why we wanted to ban, you know, the sanding systems at Calgary this year is because I think it's going overboard. You know, everybody's shining their feet, shining their shoes, and, you know, what irks me about that is people spend time doing that instead of the basics. You know, they didn't have their feet flat, their shoes flat, or their feet flat. You know, they didn't fit their feet properly. You know, they spent 5 minutes shining, but there's other things you could work on. You can make a nicer nail line, you know, and all that. But it's getting to the point where, you know, there's a handful of guys that can get it done. They can make beautiful shoes and then they can spend 10 minutes shining them. But for the most part, a lot of guys are trying to do that, but they should be concentrating on the basics rather than shining them up. And I think that's where you get hit hard is if you know, shine and you miss the heel or you missed a quarter or a cataract shoe or anything. That's my take on that. I personally will just assume that they didn't put any sanding systems in any more contests. And that's my personal preference. How do you guys feel about it?
I've seen novice guys run that state contest.
Make it all shiny, but the trim's not even a finished trim.
Yeah.
A little rough.
You know, at the end of the day, the horse is going to go step in manure right away and go in the mud, and all that polish is not going to matter. You know, but you know, when we're shoeing horses every day, we have to polish our feet and make them look nice and be presentable and all that. And I see the importance of it, but I think it's going overboard at this point. You know, rather than a sanded block and a little bit of shine, it's just going to the point where they're polishing feet so much that they're washing out around the clinches. And I think that's detrimental to the job is when they're washing out around the clinches and, you know, weakening the clinches just to get a little bit more shine. Right, Billy?
I agree. I will say, we were talking about back to the rack. Fixing a rack roaster. Fixing a rack roaster is.
Turn your mic on.
I thought it was a lot harder to fix rack roaster.
Yeah.
First of all, if you miss your draw on your branch, and you got so much steel to move in the toe, whereas in everyday work, or usually in a state contest, you're not dealing with a shoe that's got that much material. So, back to your point about chain with a hammer blow, you can fix flat. With one moderate heat, you can fix the rack.
Yeah. So where's that line in importance to you?
Horse be racked.
Mm-hmm.
It's very important if the outside branch is not covered properly.
Yeah.
And I'm hanging over, got a rock catcher on the inside.
Yeah.
Because whether I'm judging a contest or whether I'm shooting a horse, I'm thinking about the function of the horse and not the.
Yeah. And everyone criticizes making roadsters, but making roadsters taught me more about making hind shoes than anything ever has. And it's just Billy's point right there is if you're short on that outside branch, you're never going to come out and around and have that box that lays out in that grid. And that's That's what we want at the end of the day. Is
A roast is probably the most educated pursuit any man can master.
yeah.
I said master, I didn't say that.
And it also, you're lining up your heel cocks and lining the travel. You know, you're planning ahead. You're forging sections. You're forging your toe. You're making a graduated section. So there's so many different elements, and that's probably the most criticized shoe that we make. And I get sick of hearing it because it's just, until you've done it, you can't really knock it. And it's one of those things that I would never take back, is my experience making piles of roasters. And I firmly believe it's making me a better horse shoer today because of it. And people that haven't done it, I don't think will believe it, but it's just one of those things that just, and Billy's made a million of them, you know. And
Dusty came to my house one time and he looked out there and saw about 15 5-gallon buckets. He'd pick up, and one of them had a roast.
yeah.
I said, I'm still trying.
So it's one thing we can make right now, if you want to, is make a roaster and kind of talk about some of the elements, or we can talk about more about the judging if you want. Okay. What side?
Right.
Right. Okay. I haven't made one in a long time. I'm making a fool of myself. So what's the kiss of death on the roadster? The offset, exactly. You guys are paying attention. What does W.J. Lewis offset his roadster?
Depends on whether it's crease planks now, half or 5/8. That's for me.
Half-inch, plank span.
3/8 to half, I said.
3/8 to half, okay. So he's a smart man. I used to go 5/16 and 5/9 lateral side. And
I got to have.
I go about 3/8 generally, but I go back. What about Wayne? How much is the offset? What do you offset? 3/8. I heat as much as humanly possible. It'll probably be 3/4, 7/8. But don't get caught up in that. You know, I've gone from bumping 1/2 inch to back in my E-man days I could go over 1 inch. You know, so it's
Back to match the specimen, just whatever you need to match the specimen.
yeah. The more you put in the toe, the easier it's going to be for you. Because the thing about a roaster is the most difficult thing to achieve is having that leading edge of your roaster thick. A lot of times people want to just kind of have a rolled toe on it because it leading edge is not thick enough. So we want that leading edge to be the thickest part of the shoe. You know, believe it or not, everybody thinks a roadster is a heavy shoe, but a roadster is designed to be light and for wear. So that's why all that material in between is drawn down. So you have the leading edge, your toe thick, and then you have your heel caulk thick, and everything in between is graduated. You know, if you made a shoe all the way around that was 5/8 thick, it'd be a really heavy shoe. So it's made to be on cobblestone. And I mean, Gary Darlow showed me shoes that we'd go shoe horses and they would be razor blades in 3 or 4 weeks. You know, they need to put as much in that toe as they possibly can. And you nail one? Yeah. How long do they last typically?
4 weeks.
4 weeks?
Yeah.
Pretty toast. Yeah. So one thing when I'm bumping, a lot of will just kind of forge it. But when you're bumping steel, you almost have to go through the steel and put as much of it as you can, follow through with your hammer blow. If you just concentrate and look at the top, you're not going to get much in it. But if you look at the bottom of that steel and go through it, it's like a boxer punches, they're looking behind somebody's head and following through with their punch. Same thing you're doing with the hammer. You want to go through, look at the bottom of that steel, and follow through. So you get as much as you can in there. But if you just hit the top of it, you're not going to be very effective. Now 7/8 is what we got. So I narrowed my section back up. The guys that were here this morning, I did it on the outside of the section, taking that leading edge of my toe. Okay? Gene would have got 1.5 inches in that amount of heat. Any questions on that part? Yes, sir.
What was your section you started with?
11 inches.
3 inch what? What section?
That hole. Don't ever make out 3 for 1.
Just making sure. Awesome.
When you're punching the toe, are you punching to the center of the slot or the offsetting?
I put it at my center mark, and my center mark was 3/8 of an inch off center. And for some reason on roasters, and I don't know why, the short end bumps more than the long edge. Why does that happen? But it just always does. So I always make my lateral side, the heat is to touch longer, maybe a quarter inch longer than my medial side. Because that inside, it did it on this roaster, it always bumps more on the short side. And I have no explanation for it. He probably does.
Because you got more steel between your point of impact and your point of resistance. You got more steel above. I say you have more steel from the point of impact than you do with the resistance on your pivot. So it's taking up the power per square inch that you're putting on the top.
Coming back from the anvil
Well, you rebound from the end. It's not going to be. That's one reason when I learned from Shane, he taught me to hold it off of the face so that when I would get more impact from my anvil to balance out from my hammer.
That makes sense. Kiss of death it'll make your toes look a little bit stronger, guys that haven't made roasters before. So I have all this thick material on the inside. Now I gotta go back and seed out all that material and make the leading edge of my toe the thickest part. So what's gonna happen, if I go to seed it out on the foot surface, it's gonna make a bevel on my inside. And then it's gonna make my toe look weak from the ground surface of the shoe. So what I'm gonna do, I'm going to go seed that shoe out on the ground surface first. And that's going to pull all my material and make a bevel opposite way. And then I'm going to turn it over on my foot surface, and then I'm going to go seed it out. And I do that on my draft shoes. I do that on any thicker shoe, because that bevel makes your toe look weak when you look at it from the ground surface. So that's going to make me have a little bit of a stronger looking toe. And that's what we want on a roadster. We want a good, strong looking toe. Or unless you like Gene, put 6 inches into the toe and forge it all back out. Right, Gene? So I'll go back and I'll seed it out to widen out my toe, and then I'm going to go forge it up back with the horn. Make that the thickest part of my shoe. Okay? Getting that casserole, boys? Yeah. You have a good ride? Josh, I know you always have a stupid question to ask. I know somebody else might have come up with it. But we have a square leading edge on a roadster. How we can make that look thicker is create an angle. It's going to make our toe look thicker, okay? Rather than a straight line. So I'm just going to put a slight bevel on that. That's going to make it have the appearance of looking a little bit thicker. So, our second attribute that we're looking for on a roadster, I think, is we don't want it to be racked. So what else are we going to look at? The heel cocks are pretty important. That's what I'm going to work on next. So we're going to try to make an equilateral heel cock. The guys that haven't made it before, here. The natural thing for a heel cock is always get long on the heel check sides.
The only thing I forgot to tell you.
It always wants to grow. Why is that? It's the easiest side to hit, exactly. No one wants to hit the back side of the heel cock. Everybody wants to hit the front side of the heel cock. What's up? What else is it? Kiss of death on heel cocks. Cold shots. Exactly. So how do we prevent cold shots?
Rasp the hell out of it.
Some are so deep you can't rasp them out. What do the castaways do to keep having cold shots? No sharp edges. What else? That's a good point. Keep them leaning back. So we have, I'll erase this. We're done with this. It took me a long time to figure this. So this will work in hockey sticking, this will work in heel cock. So the secret to making a good heel cock, if we turn it up at a right angle like that, and we hit straight down, we're going to get a cold shot every time. And what happens is this ledge goes straight down and makes a crevice right there. And that crevice will never come out if that ever develops. It's in there forever. And I hate heel cocks and cold shots. So, there's two, my eraser, lost my train of thought. So if we make a heel cock, it's like the castaways just said, on a radius, lean back, our cold shot's not going to develop. We have a radius right here, and it's leaning back. Material's going to pack in here. Also, our hammer blows. If we start hitting right here, we're going to get a cold shot again. And if it's leaning back too much, the heel cock is going to run away from us. It's going to have to be one of those heel cocks you have to turn up 3 inches of steel, and you're going to get a little bit of heel cock. The main area where you have to hit is this corner, right here. So it needs to be leaning back, and you got to hit that corner, and material is going to go that direction. And as you're putting that material in, you're causing that heel cock to be more upright as you go along. Okay? So it's going to start out pretty radically leaning back, directional blows, and when you're all said and done, you're going to have a square heel cock with no cold shut. Okay? Same with hockey sticking. If you in my hand. You want to pack material, hockey stick a bar. You want material to come right here and have a nice square corner. Hit that corner. If you hit it straight down, it's going to run away from you every time. But you can turn up an immense amount of material, hit that way, and material all ends up right there in the corner. Okay? Everybody get that? Josh, you got that? Okay. And it took me 10 years to learn that. And I used to turn up that much for heel cocks and it'll all run away from me, and I have to go back and fix it. You know, same with bar shoes. Turn up that much, and then just get this little weenie bar because all my material ran away. But that directional hammer blow on that outside corner will pack material in there every time. Then if you're needing your hockey stick in or heel cock to lean back a little more, you can go back and you can hit that corner. It's going to kick it out. Hit this corner, it's going to kick it in. But another trick I forgot. You guys set down the backside of your heel cock or no? You? No? You just turn them up? Another trick, I guess I'm old news, but is to before you turn the heel cock up, set this over the edge of the anvil towards that center. And then you have that shoulder here to help make you a square spot on the heel cock. You want to get some closer shots of the heel cock? So my heel cock's leaning back, probably leaning up a little bit too much. I'm going to hit it just right there. And it feels solid. If I hit it straight down, it's not going to feel solid. I'm going to hit it 2 times, 2 times, 2 times. And it's still leaning back. And as if it wants to curl forward, I'm going to hit it back like this. And that's going to keep everything leaning back, and that's going to keep a cold shut from happening. And it's also going to make the leading edge of my heel cock wider. Okay, that metal's going to come to the hammer. So I do a lot of this. I almost never go to here until the very end. Okay? That's another thing that's going to create a cold shut. Going over the edge of the animal too quickly. So I'm going to keep that. I'm going to keep that radius and keep that material in there. And one thing I did, I used to work on my heel cocks right at the beginning and forge them because that's what I wanted to work on. But I need to work on drawing that branch out while it's hot. You know, and then I can work on a heel cock when it's colder. And I think that makes it easier too because heel cocks can get away from you when they're too hot. It's easier to make them lean or forge one side too much. So a lot of roasters will end up thick here on this toe quarter. So we need to go in and we need to draw that material out while we have the heat. Okay? And then heel cocks can work on orange, cherry red heat. And that's what I typically do if I'm trying to get a roaster done in a hurry. How many degrees does a, sorry, Bill. How many degrees does a heel cock have to be in line with travel, generally? 30? Yeah, about 30. More quarter beam you have, more you have to have it. But generally, a roaster for the table is going to be about 30 degrees. What do you say, Keith? putting it over the edge of the anvil, twisting, working on the heel check, picking up on the tongue hand, working on it on the outside, constantly twisting that. Another kiss of death on roasters, heel cocks leaning in. We always want the heel cock leaning out just a little slightly. Heel cocks leaning in or a wrong track. Twirl the head around. Pick up on that hand. So the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go back, push it back to the head of the anvil. Okay. Not the prettiest heel cock I've ever made, but it doesn't have a cold shut. So what are we looking for on a wedge? Same. What else? How much ground bearing surface should we have? giant pyramid. Half on and off. So basically, I'm just pyramiding that up, still have a good amount of foot bearing surface. See if I get this done in one heat. Anybody on after?
You got 15 minutes.
15 minutes? Well, I got more. I thought we were done in an hour.
3:15.
All right. The way I usually tackle wedges, I'm not the best one in the world at making wedges, but when I fan that out, just look at it from the side. I'm just trying to make our material. And I go set it down. And I go pinch this material up. You kind of get all kinds of voids in here when you pinch up that material. So I typically, the way I try to counteract that is I try to make the pyramid as tall as I can. And then I smash it down. And then I pyramid, and then you can have a couple little voids here, a couple little voids there. And I pyramid it up again, and I smash it back down. And usually the second time I smash it back down, I've usually got rid of all the voids. But that's usually what a lot of guys are good at, just setting it down and making a pretty crisp wedge from the get-go, but it's never worked out for me that way. So I'm always, I just build it up, tear it down, build it up, tear it down, and all my voids are gone. So if you look right in here, I have some voids and some gold chunks. And I'm just going to extrude that out again and try to fix it. And I'll kick that wedge back a lot. And that helps me get it away from the edge of the anvil right here. I'm pulling it like a clip. Right back to me again. I'll pour it down once, and I'm going to build it up again. And one thing about building a wedge, so everything's in a pyramid in this direction. So when you go to hit it, it's going to shoot everything off. So how do we keep that from happening?
Tom fit, they were on your Tom.
Your thumb's on the hole. So when I'm striking that wedge, I'm doing it like a clip. I'm taking the edge of that hammer and digging in, and that's counteracting all the forces that want to come off that, okay? So I'm digging in, and see how the directional blows like that. When it's hot, we'll keep that from slipping off the handle here, okay? That makes sense? A lot of guys will come in here, same kind of deal. It helps when you have a striker, because you have a striker pin it, and then you can come back here, and then you can force it back. But that's another thing that'll create a cold shot, is when you hit here, it's going to ride up the handle, okay? And then when it rides up the handle, you get all kinds of nasty crap in there. You go over the edge, or you just here?
I tend to go over the edge.
Yeah. How do you counteract it? Riding up the handle?
So lock it down.
Lock it down?
Yeah.
With your tongue hand?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lock the wrist down, then I work back.
Yeah.
So it's just the way I've always done it.
Yeah. Everybody has their own little tricks, you know, to maintain a wedge like that. Sorry for being a terrible artist. Okay. So this is where we get into our first kiss of death on a roaster, a rack roaster. So we lay it out. So we have it laid out in a boomerang. Say we have it laid out in a boomerang right here. We mark everything dead nuts straight across. What almost always happens if we mark our toenails square. this toenail always drops and this one comes up. When we have it turned, for me, and most of the time, when I see shoes, when I see roadsters racked, they're almost always racked in that direction. Wouldn't you agree with that? Because they're short outside and long inside. And when you bring this out and around like that, like a hind foot, this is going to drop. That toenail's going to drop. So, what we can counteract that is, what I typically do is drop my inside toenail from the get-go and create that. And then generally, if I drop it half a nail hole, I'm going to end up square when my shoe's done. And that's how I counteract it personally. And it's different for everybody. Wayne's going to do different, King's going to do different. Everybody's going to do different ways of counteracting their rack roaster. But I was taught that in England a long time ago by the Farrier, and I still do it to this day. It still works for me. And they do it on draft shoes. They drop that inside down, and then they come out and around on draft shoes. Why? Well, when you have Clydesdale foot, that's straight up and down on the inside, and this comes out and around like this, and you're here, this is naturally going to come up because this angle is different. Okay? This angle is coming out, and this is coming straight down. So you have to drop that one. Did I tell you wrong? I did, didn't I? I did it backwards. Sorry. Oh. Yeah. So, gonna have to be right. Yep. You got to drop that inside. Bring that outside up in order to make that square straight across. Right? Yep. So that's one thing we have to do to counteract it. Okay? Any questions on that? Forward, especially forward. Yep. Draft shoes makes a world of difference. Take that inside, drop it 3/16 of an inch, make everything straight across. And you're also coarser on your outside. Think about that. So that's dropping that down. So that's why you have to drop that. Make that square. Okay? 3 minutes, you're going to make me go 3 more minutes. Anybody have any questions?
I got one.
Okay.
Whenever you're talking about them being racked, how most of the time that you don't offset enough, how many times have you seen it where the medial is overdrawn instead of not having enough offset in it?
The medial, it's like this one. My medial is overdrawn compared to the lateral. I'm going to be long inside on that one. And I need to draw my outside more. But it's almost always the case. But how I'm going to counteract that, what's the easiest way to shorten my inside? Drop my inside toe. I drop that, move that up, all of a sudden, that's longer. Okay? And if I go the other way, if I make it straight across at this point, I guarantee I'm going to have a rack roaster when I turn it in. Because it's easy to push around that way. It's impossible to push it around the other way. Okay? So that's why we drop that from the get-go. Our two angles are different. Hind feet aren't symmetrical. You know, this inside comes down, this outside comes out and around. You know, the toes aren't symmetrical either. You know, one thing that I fought with Gene Leeser, he used to think hind feet were so symmetrical. And that German headaches, never would cave on it. But then now he offsets shoes more than anybody I know. Good, Drew? Yeah.
Is there any more questions for Austin? All All right, let's give them a round of applause.